everyone, welcome to Oriflame Talks, where we share real stories, real experiences, and thought-provoking discussions on beauty and well-being, business, and leadership. Today we have a very interesting topic: cosmetic safety. Who cares? We do. I'm Ginny Fernando, Global Community Engagement Manager, and today we have the pleasure of being with Dr. Aine Norton and Gabriela Zerbinatti. Aine is Oriflame's very own Product Safety Manager, and Gabriela is Oriflame's Microbiology Manager. Both of them are in the Consumer Safety and Horizon Scanning team of the Global Regulatory Affairs. I'm personally excited to learn a lot today. And if you are tuned in and you have any questions you want to ask related to today's topic, you can ask them in the Q&A section and we will answer them later on in the session. Well, without further ado, I hand you all over to Aine and Gabriela.
Thank you, Ginny, for having us today. We're also very excited to be here and delighted to have the chance to talk about an area that we're both very passionate about, cosmetic safety. As Ginny mentioned, we are responsible for this area here in Oriflame, and between the two of us, we have almost 20 years of experience in the cosmetic industry. Hopefully, you'll learn what is involved in cosmetic safety. Also, we're going to share some do's and don'ts related to cosmetic safety and challenge some of the most common myths around cosmetic safety. So, Aine, I imagine people are wondering, why are we so passionate about safety? Why do you think cosmetic safety is so important?
Well, cosmetics are, a fundamental part of our day, Gabriela. We use cosmetics every single day of our lives. We use them to make us look and feel good, as well as just for general hygiene. If you ever, stop to think about how many products you use in a day, do you have any idea how many you've used so far today?
Around 8, I think.
Yeah, I've definitely used more. If you think of the first hour you're even awake in the morning, you might go and have a shower, wash your hair with shampoo, conditioner, maybe use some shower gel. You might then cleanse, tone, moisturize your face, maybe apply some deodorant, maybe you brush your teeth. As men might shave, you then might, apply some, aftershave or perfume. Those are all things we do in the first hour of being awake, and we take them for granted. So, because cosmetic products, they're, so essential to help us go about our daily life, they have to be safe. They have to be safe, not just on the day that we're using them when we apply the product, but they have to be safe for us to use them every day throughout our life. That's really why safety is so important, and safety means different things. Safety for me, I'm a toxicologist, but I'm also a user of cosmetics. I'm a mother as well of kids. And the fundamental thing for me for safety, for myself when I'm using it, or my kids, or for the consumers who are using our products, it's all about trust. It's about trusting that the products that you're using are going to be compatible with your skin. That when you use the products, you won't experience anything that you wouldn't consider to be normal for you or for you when you use that kind of a product. And then also trusting that when you're using those products over the course of your life, you'll be able to do that without any impact on your health. That's really what safety is all about for me. But I'm a toxicologist, that's my perspective, and that's one side of safety. But obviously, Gabby, you're a microbiologist. What is your version of safety? How is your take on it different to what I think about?
Well, Aine, it's very interesting. You never think actually of how many products we use in the beginning of our day. And yes, as a microbiologist, I would say safety is very linked to the integrity of the product. So we work to ensure the product will have the same quality from the first day that is being used until the very last day. It could be a product that is going to last 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. But what is important for us is to prevent any deterioration of the product and keep the same integrity. And I would say, in a more personal level, it would be really be able to enjoy the product and even, recommend it to the family, to the friends, because that's what we do with the things that are good and safe for us.
Yeah.
So I think we can say in summary that for us, safety is about trust, is about compatibility with the skin, is about keeping the product integrity. What about safety for Oriflame, when you think about Oriflame as a brand and the work that is done here on the R&D team? Should we look a bit at the Oriflame standards for safety?
Yeah, I think we will tell everyone a little bit about our standards. And our standards they're really important to us, and they're the minimum that we apply to all our beauty products. And it's one of the ways that we can, ensure the trust in our products and talk about the things we do to ensure safety. So we're going to talk about a couple of those today. The first one is really important, and it's that we apply the strict European cosmetic standards to all of our products. And this is really important because European cosmetic standards, they're the strictest standards in the world for cosmetics. And the core of those standards is safety. That's really the reason for them. They're all about safety. So, and because we apply these standards to all our products, that means safety is really at the core of everything we think about. And we apply these safety standards, these European safety standards, to every product we develop across every market. So it doesn't matter where in the world you're living, the same standard applies. And this is really good, and it's something we're really proud of, because not every company does that. And it's really a great thing that we can say about our products. But not just that. We don't just take European standards and just follow them without thinking about them further. We also go beyond the European standards. We add our own restrictions and ban additional ingredients based on our own internal experts, concerns if they review an ingredient and they believe we should set a ban or restrict an additional ingredient than is written into the EU regulations. And we might do that for different reasons. That might be due to protect our customer safety, but it might also be for the environment, because there's many ingredients that we'll ban or restrict for environmental reasons as well as for our consumer safety. So that's a really nice thing that we do, that we go beyond the minimums of the regulations. And we're able to do that because we have experts in-house who can perform these safety assessments. And they're the qualified toxicologists who work as part of my team in the toxicology team, and then there are the microbiologists who work in part of Gabby's team. And that's a really great thing, that we have that expertise in-house to be able to do those assessments on the ingredients and on the products themselves. Gabby, do you want to talk about any more of the standards we have?
Yeah, sure. One of the best things of having the experts in-house is that our safety team can work during all the stages of the product development. So from the very first start, during all the stages that it goes until it's ready to go to the factories and to every market that Oriflame is present, our team is very close, working together to really guarantee the safety of the product.
And that's really important, because we're designing it from the beginning. So it's going to be safe by design, because safety are involved from the beginning and every stage. It's so crucial to end up with a safe product. You have to start with it from the beginning and build it through.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, it doesn't work if you don't do from the beginning. Like, you have to be very close during the design stage. And to prove that the design is really safe, we have, for toxicology and microbiology tests, external testing with independent laboratories that are able to then verify and attest that our product is really safe before the final stage of the development. So just in summary, the Oriflame standards that we mentioned, that Oriflame follow the EU standards, the safety regulation. No matter for which market the product is going, we're going to apply the same rules. Not only that, like, if Onia's team is finding anything that is of concern and that we need to create further restriction, we will do. Our teams work to ensure that safety is taken care at every stage with the in-house experts. And at the end, we have the external independent validation of the work being done. So these are the foundations of our work, but I guess they're very high level, and it's going to be much more interesting when we start sharing how does that happen in our day-to-day work. So how is that part of our product development? Anya, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'd like to tell everyone about a little bit about what we do in the toxicology team, some of the things we think about and our approach to ensuring our products are safe. And it has to be mentioned before we kind of talk anymore that like every product needs to be assessed as safe before we place it on the market. Like that's our role, that's my role, it's Gabby's role. We all in the consumer safety team have to ensure a product is safe before it goes on market. And how we're going to talk about it today and explain what we do in the toxicology team is by breaking it down into talking about what goes into the product, what goes together in the product, who will use the product, and what happens when it's on market. Okay, so the first part of that is what goes in. And let's compare it to baking a cake. If you're baking a cake, in order to make a really good cake, you start with your raw materials and your ingredients. That might be your shopping list that you'd have when you go to buy all your ingredients and your raw materials for your cake. You want to have a good cake, you need to start with raw materials. So same thing for us in Oriflame. We only source high quality raw materials from reputable suppliers, and the safety team, among other teams, check those raw materials to ensure we're happy with them. Then we look at the ingredients within those raw materials that we're going to use in the product to check we're happy with them. We do an assessment on each ingredient that's going to be used, and it's qualified toxicologists who do that. That's the first part. The next part of making our cake is thinking about, what goes together in that formula, in that product. That's your recipe for your cake. How much of each ingredient are you going to use? Do all those ingredients work together? If you were baking a cake, you might think about, am I going to use normal flour or self-raising flour? Depending on which you use, you might want to add a raising agent, or maybe you wouldn't. So we think about things like that. We think about what are all the ingredient combinations that could go together, and are they safe? And how much of each ingredient are we going to use? The next part of the puzzle for us is who's going to use the product? Is the product for an adult? Is it for a child? Is it for a baby? Where in the body are we going to use it? Is it for our hair, our face, our hands, our feet? How many times a day are we going to use it? All of that, that's called the exposure. So we think about that when we're deciding how much of an ingredient is safe for us to use. If you were making a cake for your 2-year-old daughter, you might make a different kind of cake than you would if you were making a cake for your mother for her birthday. You might add less sugar into a cake for your young daughter, but you'd be happy to add more sugar into a cake that's for your mother. Why? Because we're different. So we have to take those differences into account, and the toxicology team do that. That's the beginning of the safety assessment. The next part is the testing. So as we mentioned, we do that testing with external independent laboratories. And they are overseen by independent qualified medical professionals. So that would be like a dermatologist if the product is for your skin, it would be an ophthalmologist if the product is for your eyes, gynecologist for an intimate product, and dentist for a product if it's for toothpaste. So the different kinds of qualified professionals, and that gives us that independent verification of our safety assessment that we've done internally. But because that testing is done externally, it's unbiased, and it's able to kind of helps us stand over the safety of our products as well. And that all happens before a product goes to market, and then when it goes on market, we're involved in monitoring what happens when customers are using it. So that's a very high level overview of the things we think about in our approach in ensuring safety, very much from a skin compatibility and long-term health perspective. And that's what we do in the toxicology team. But Gabby, your team is microbiology. You've a different focus. So how does your approach differ from what we do?
Well, Anya, so the cake example is actually very nice. Let's say we're talking about these 2 cakes. We have the cake for a child and then a cake for an adult person. As Anya said, they're different cakes, but in the micro team, what we want to do is to help the cake to be fresh from the first slice till the last slice that is being taken. So I know, unfortunately, most of us already saw a cake or even a bread at home going bad because mold is growing there. So that's our job in the microbiology team, because we know what the mold or bacteria like to grow. We try to understand the cake and how the cake is going to arrive to you or to the child or to the adult to understand how to avoid that from happening. So let's think about different types of cake. For us, a formulation is like a cake. So you can have a brownie or a coconut cake or a birthday cake with a cream on top or a plain cake. Just as we have shower gels, face creams, and bar soaps or fragrances. Not all of them are the same. Then we have the packaging. We could have a very simple way to individually protect every slice of the cake, or sometimes we have all the cake slices in the same box, and we are opening the box to take the cake. Just as we have, for example, sachets, or we have the jar packaging that we're going to use and take the product with our hands, or we can have the pump or the tube. So we are looking at these combinations, and depending on the cake and depending on the packaging together, the microbiology experts will look at it and will think about, okay, what is the level of protection that we need to add to help this product to be in the best quality for longer. So this varies, and that's the input of the team during the development. And at the end of the day, the final product will be tested by the independent laboratories. And once we have the confirmation that the protection is working as we expect, that's when we consider the product approved, and that's when it can be sent, can start the manufacturing in the factories.
So it's really all about ensuring the quality for the duration that a customer is going to use. And you think about all of those things like the packaging and
yes,
yeah, to make sure that it's not going to get, pick up something, because there's microbes everywhere,
Yes, and they are part of our life. So we have to consider them, and we have to consider which environment is not the most favorable to them. That's basically our work. And we do consider as well, like what type of consumer is going to use the product. But I would say our main work starts from this combination of the formulation, the packaging, and how it's going to be the use of the product, because that changes as well, and that might need or not a different level of protection. And the good part of that approach, that by doing that, we are able to adjust the level of protection, so of preservation, and we can use preservatives as little as possible. Yeah, that's
to minimize the amount that we need to keep it safe for as long as we can. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So this is how we do our work day to day. And in summary, you can see that we are considering a lot of things. So we are considering the ingredients that go in the cake itself, who is using it, how it's being used, the packaging. I would say it's a very comprehensive approach.
Yeah, we have to think about it from lots of different perspectives, and microbiologists and toxicologists, we work together to ensure it's safe. But there's other functions as well that are involved in it too. But we would probably be the predominant ones who would have an influence on it. Yeah.
So now that we finished the part that we were covering, what is cosmetic safety related to, we're going to share some tips linked to do's and don'ts of the cosmetic safety. Aine, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Hopefully, maybe some people might know some of these already. Some of them, maybe it'll be a learning for some people. Well, Gabriela and myself were talking about this before. I learned some of them myself, so I'm sure I won't be the only person. So do follow your instructions for use. So firstly, what are your instructions for use? So these are written on the packaging for all your cosmetics. It'll either be on the outer carton or it'll be on the product itself. It's always good to have a quick look just to read the instructions for use, just to take note, is there anything particular that you need to be aware of when using the product, just to help you use the product safely. Yeah. Gabby, would you like to do another do or don't?
Yes, I'm gonna do another do, and this one is about cleanliness. So one tip that is very helpful is to clean your makeup applicators regularly. Also, clean your hands before you're applying your products, especially the ones that you're going to use your hands during the application. And just one thing that I forgot to say about the makeup applicators, it's important to clean, to remove the residues that are there. And also, if you're using water and soap, let it dry. That's the best combination to keep your applicators better for longer and have the best performance of your product.
Can I ask you, Gabby, you said clean your applicators regularly. How frequently does that mean? Because, you know, is it every week? Is it every month? You know, what do people do?
The cleaning has the objective to remove the residues, especially when we're using with liquid products, you know, like foundations, concealers, because those are the products that ended up building up a kind of structure around the applicators. So I would recommend everybody to clean maximum like twice per year, minimum twice per year, sorry. But if you use your color cosmetics almost every day, then you should consider a higher frequency, maybe monthly, weekly, depending on how much you use. And of course, you are the best person to say how frequent you have to clean, because the best procedure that you have, it's going to be better for your applicator and for the performance of the product on your skin.
Yeah, that's good to know. I'm going to do now. So do you always use your product as it's intended? So what that means is if it's a product, if it's a hand cream, that's, you know, it's designed for your hands, and we'll assess and check the safety for your hands. You know, probably wouldn't be a great idea to use it as an eye cream. We couldn't guarantee that, you know, it will be nice to be used as an eye cream, because we haven't designed it for that purpose. Now, similarly, you know, when I say use as intended, that also means, you know, if a product like an anti-aging product, that would be designed for an adult, it wouldn't be recommended that younger person, you know, a teen or preteen, would use a product like that. So always use a product, you know, as it's intended, because when you use it as it's intended, that's what the safety team have taken into consideration when we're doing our safety assessment. If you're using it in a way that, you know, isn't intended, couldn't guarantee that it's going to perform the way you'd like it to. So that would be very much a do for us. Yeah, Gabby, would you have any more?
Yes, now I'm going to share a don't. I know that we like to try a lot of things, but one product that you have to be very careful about borrowing and trying if somebody else is already using it are the eyelash mascaras. Our eyes are super sensitive, and when we are applying a mascara, sometimes we have tears that will come up and kind of wet the brush. So if you're using the brushes and the mascara that somebody else already had used, you might notice some irritation in your eyes. So that's the reason that product is quite intimate, and we don't recommend to be shared. Another point about mascaras is that, I don't know you, but like, I love a mascara. I basically wear it every day. Yeah. So they don't last that long. And sometimes we notice when they are starting to be a little bit dry, and that's not a safety concern, but sometimes we have to let our products go if they are not good for us anymore, and then get a new one. That's part of life, and it's the best with the mascara. So that's a very important point.
I think you have another don't, one that I actually was guilty of doing myself, and I bet there's people listening who are guilty of it as well.
I have done that myself as well, Aine. I'm not here to say things that I've never done before.
Do you want to share the one that
yes,
I'm guilty of doing?
I've learned, but sometimes you have your shampoo or your liquid soap at home, and it's almost at the end. And let's say if it's Essence & Co. or Duology, we all love the fragrances. So we're like, oh, I don't want to just, you know, put it to the disposal bin. So we add a bit of water, we shake, and we keep using. That's not necessarily the best way to use the product, because when we are diluting those products, we are changing the formulation. It's like, you know, think about diluting a cake. It's not gonna be the same. It's not gonna be the same taste. So if you're diluting your soap, you might not be having the same cleanliness that you'd have from the original product, and you might be creating an environment that can be quite good for some bacteria. So be careful with that.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to stop doing from now on, because I've learned something there. I've got another do. So do get your information from reputable sources. So nowadays it's so good. There's so much information out there about the ingredients, about safety, but there's a lot of misinformation available as well on social media and different places like that, you know, influencers.
Would you recommend any source, Anya?
If it's for cosmetic information, there's a nice website, cosmeticsinfo.org, that gives a nice level of information that's not too technical. It's very kind of digestible and easy to understand, but it is accurate. Because that is the issue sometimes, is that there's so much information out there. It's hard to know that what's true and what isn't. And sometimes information can be a little bit scary. You know, there can be, you know, things about ingredients and we're, oh, is this true? So always try and look for a reputable source, and cosmeticsinfo.org is one of them, but there are many more. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll check it. And one other tip that I'm going to share with you is that products should be closed after they are used. For example, I know, like, I have curly hair, so very often I'm going to use a hair mask in the shower, and while I'm applying it to my hair, I cannot really close the lid. But as soon as I have my hands cleaner without any mask on it, I'm going to close the lid, because it's very important to keep my mask available for longer, to have the best quality during the entire time, to keep it closed and to avoid anything from the external environment to get into the packaging. That's very important.
Well, one final one for me is, you know, if you've got a routine for your skincare and you want to change it, do introduce new products to your routine gradually. So add them slowly, because, you know, some of our products that, you know, are for a routine, they can be quite, you know, highly acting. So sometimes it takes our skin a little bit of time to adjust and adapt, and that's because they're high performing as well. So introduce them gradually, and then you should get the best results and have the best outcome from a safety perspective. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have to say, it took me a lot of time to start using a routine like that. And at the beginning, I would have some breakouts or things, and I would just stop using the products and never look at them again. But yeah, that makes difference. It's a very good tip.
Yeah, our skin is a living organ, so we have to just give it time to adapt and get used to new things, especially things that they're working on our skin. You know, you're using them for, you know, to get positive results, and that takes time as well for our skin to get used to it too. So
these are our tips, and are we all ready to challenge some myths around cosmetic safety?
Yeah, let's do that. We've got a couple of myths, yeah, and we'll go through them.
Can I start?
Yeah, absolutely.
The first one is a short ingredient list safer?
So I think this is a myth. I think a lot of people have a perception that if you've got a product that has a short ingredient list, this is safer. First of all, what is an ingredient list? People might be wondering what that is. If you look on the back of any of your products, either on the product itself or on the packaging it comes in, you'll see a list of ingredients. And there is a perception out there that if there's a shorter ingredient list, meaning fewer ingredients in there, then the product is safer. But that's not necessarily true. So it doesn't matter how long or short an ingredient list is. The safety is all about ensuring we use the right amount of each ingredient. So whether the ingredient list is long or short, we still have to do the same assessment. We still take the same things into consideration for each ingredient we use. So it doesn't matter whether the ingredient list is long or short. The same safety applies.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of another one. Talking about ingredients, I know, like, I'm a chemist, so I've heard a lot of histories and like how people feel about chemical products and all of that. And another myth that we hear a lot, oh sorry, I already said, spoiler, it's that if you can't pronounce the name of the ingredient, it's a chemical that is not good for you. Is that true?
No, that's not true. I think we can all be guilty of that, even if we're scientists. You know, we read an ingredient name. God, I can't pronounce that. What is it? But you know, anything is a chemical, and when we are not used to looking at chemical names, especially, they can sound quite scary, and you think, oh my gosh, what is this? It's so long, maybe I won't use that. But the reality of it is everything is a chemical. You know, they're in everything we can taste, see, you know, smell, touch. Doesn't mean that they're not safe if you can't understand their name. You know, if you're out for dinner and someone said, do you want some sodium chloride on your dinner? You'd be a bit scared, but really they're just asking you, do you want some salt on your dinner? So it's just our familiarity with those types of names. We don't use them as part of our daily lives, especially if we don't kind of work in a scientific field. It doesn't mean that those ingredients are not safe. And as I said, you know, all our ingredients have to be assessed as safe before they're used in any product. So yeah.
Another one from the chemical section. Are natural products always safer than synthetic?
So I think this is a bit of a myth. You know, we've got loads of great natural products, and there's loads of reasons why you want to use a natural product, you know, for environmental reasons and choosing kind of more kind of ones that are closer to nature. But from a safety perspective, there isn't any difference in the safety of a natural ingredient versus a synthetic ingredient, or you know, non-natural ingredient. So if a consumer wants to choose like a natural product or a product that doesn't contain natural ingredients, they can do so, and it won't have any difference in terms of the safety, because the same safety standards apply to every product. Yeah. So Gabby, I'll ask you one. So does Oriflame use preservatives in every product?
Well, no. No, we don't use, as I explained a bit before, not every product and packaging together have the same need of protection. So that means we don't need to add preservative in every product. And whenever we have the opportunity not to use a preservative, we are not going to use it. So for example, I bet most of you know Tender Care. So none of those products have any preservative added to the formulation. Also, the perfumery doesn't need preservative or soap bars. So yeah, we have quite a number of products that we don't add preservatives in Oriflame. And talking about meats, Anya, there's another one like I was mentioning before about my breakouts. Is it true that if you have a reaction, it means that the cosmetic is not safe?
No, so this is a myth. So firstly, it's important to understand what is the reaction, what does that mean? So for us in safety, that's an effect or a response that's not intended or not desired. And it would typically mean it would be an allergic or an irritation type reaction. But you know, what is that, and why does it happen? Does it mean something is unsafe? So firstly, you know, every person is different, and almost any substance out there has the potential to cause a reaction in someone. But our products undergo a thorough evaluation and testing, which we talked about earlier, before their release. So our role in the safety team is really to minimize the likelihood of anyone experiencing an adverse reaction. But like anything, it's hard to reduce the risk to absolute zero. You know, some individuals might have particular sensitivities to ingredients, and they'll notice that regardless of what brand or product they use, they might have a little bit of a sensitivity. And that's due to their own physiology. But then other times it can be caused by external factors like a weakened skin barrier, you know, which can be weakened by many different things. It could be the environment, it could be fluctuations in, you know, their hormones, diet, that could result in inflammation. And it can be something that happens for a short period of time, and then that can resolve itself because their skin barrier repairs, or it can go on for a bit longer. But it's very important if someone, you know, experienced a reaction, that they let us know, and they can do that through their order or via contacting their local customer care and fill in a form with some information and send it back to us. And that helps us to understand the bigger picture of what's happening with the product when it is on market. And that, as we mentioned earlier, if you think back, that's kind of the final part of our safety approach is understanding what's happening on market as well. So yeah, that's really what that means. Gabby, I'll have one final one for you, I think, before we'll finish up. Should I have antibacterial soaps instead of regular soaps at home?
No, especially talking about the soaps we use in our home. the regular soap works very good. Both of them have the same cleaning properties. And talking about our daily use, the regular soap is an excellent choice. There's no need to have an antibacterial soap at home.
Okay, it's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like hospitals, or like, you know, when we were during the pandemic, that there was this huge concern about keeping control of spreading diseases or like, you know, microorganisms around. That soap has its own way, like has its specificity, but in outside of those situations, the regular soap is pretty fine.
That's good to know. Thanks. That was the last of our myths that we're going to bust. So I'll hand back over to you, Jenny.
I'm really learning so much today. I love the cake analogy and even the do's and don'ts. And now that you've shared these myths that you've busted. But now we've come to the part of Oriflame Talks where we will answer the questions that have been posted by the audience. And I'm seeing a couple of questions here. So I will be asking the questions, and either of you, Anya or Gabriela, you can take it and answer it, and then we'll go through the next questions. Okay, so let's start with the first one. First, the person who posted this is really very happy to see both of you, and I think I'll speak for all of us that we're also happy to see this person also engaged in the Oriflame Talks today. And the question is, it's also like about a myth. So the question goes, there is a myth about parabens that it can cause diseases. Few of our products have methyl propyl parabens. Are they okay to use?
So parabens are kind of they're an ingredient that gets a lot of media attention. Consumers don't like them. There's some parabens that are banned and we don't use them. We do use a few parabens in some of our formulations. Any of the ones that we use are assessed as safe. Some of the parabens have undergone recent review in Europe for concerns that have been raised, and our use is still in line with all the assessment conclusions. So we're still using them in a few products, but the ones that we're using are assessed as safe. So we're confident in the safety of the parabens that we're using. And it is also really important to note that there is, there are some concerns raised over it, but the scientific data doesn't fully support all of it at the moment. But parabens are a really effective preservative. And in a lot of ways, and in terms of your compatibility with your skin, they're actually they can be a really good and safe preservative in terms of its interaction with your skin. But obviously consumers have some concerns, so we don't use them in that very many formulations. But they are one of those ingredients where they have a lot of functionality from a preservative perspective, but yet consumers have concerns. So we have to balance that as well.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And then the next question is also connected to ingredients. But here the question is, could you please explain why the ingredient lists are not included in the catalogs? Additionally, can you provide assurance that there are no toxic ingredients in the Novage products? Transparency regarding ingredients is crucial for many customers, including the one that posted the question.
Yeah. As regards why the ingredients don't appear in the catalogue, I can't answer that question 100% myself. Gabriela, would you be able to answer that side of it? Do you know anything about that part?
I can make a small comment, but yes, we are not, the safety team is not the one designing the catalog. We do provide a list of ingredients in the products because that's the point of contact. I understand people want to see it in the catalog because they're making a choice if they're going to buy it or not. I would say our catalog would need to be so much bigger if we are adding the ingredient list there.
Yeah.
We are evolving our communication and the way that we can share the information with the consumer, and you can find the ingredient list in the website if that's an option. So maybe that could work together with the catalog for that consumer. I'm not sure, like, if it would be good to hear the feedback.
I imagine they would like to see the ingredients because before they purchase the product, that's probably what their concern is. So I understand that. Yeah.
But one point that we can comment, and maybe Anya, you can comment on that better than me, already connecting to the Novage question, is that we are aware, like, people, as Anya was explaining, people might have individual sensitivities or allergies. So even though the safety team is doing the work to ensure that every product that we are placing on the market has a very good level of safety, all the ingredients are approved, are used in very safe conditions. It doesn't mean even for those ingredients somebody can have a reaction or an irritation. So it's very fair to be interested in the ingredients list. And I would say for that, today I would say the website would be the source to do that check.
Yeah. And as regards the second point, so just let me clarify the question. It was, do they ask, do we have any toxic chemicals?
Yeah, the question was, can you provide assurance that there are no toxic ingredients in the Novage products?
Okay, I suppose, well, there are no toxic ingredients in there because, so they're assessed as safe by the toxicologist on our team. So we will do an ingredient assessment on every ingredient that's used in the formulation to ensure it's safe at the level at which we're going to use it. And that's based on scientific information from obviously published papers and reputable sources. In addition to that, we look at the raw materials that are going to be used in every product, and we have to assess those as being safe to ensure they're, we look at any potential impurities that could be in there or contaminants to ensure that they're safe for use in our products. Just because I use the word toxic, for us as a toxicologist, we have a term and it's called the dose makes the poison. So like anything can be toxic at too high of a dose. It's all about the amount, but if you drank too much water, that could be toxic. It's all about taking the right amount of water. The same is true for any other chemical. So as regards if it's an impurity or something like that, if that's what they're concerned about, we assess all of that. We've got really high standards. We have to check all of our raw materials, and we've got really strong criteria around like what we need to check. And we're very strict, so I can stand here quite confidently and say, no, there's no toxic chemicals, sort of toxins in there, if you want to use that word. I'd never use that phrase as a toxicologist because anything can be dangerous at the wrong amount. But we're very happy with the safety of those products. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to the next question, but actually I'm combining two questions because it's also concerned about like ingredients. So I'm combining the two. So the question is now about the usage of sulfate in shampoo. Do we have that in our shampoos in Oriflame? And then the second one that I've combined now here is on the usage of lead for lipsticks. So are we using sulfate in their shampoos, and are we using lead in their lipsticks because they've heard that these two are like not the best for our health?
Okay, let's start with maybe the lead one. That's probably easier. I think that's another one of those. It's kind of something that comes into the media every so often about lead and lipsticks. The first thing to note is lead is kind of naturally occurring in the environment. Okay, it's in the food we eat. It's in the ground. It does get into things. There are minute levels of lead in lots of things. So it's important that if we don't add obviously lead as an ingredient, that's banned. That wouldn't be allowed. And we have limits we have limits for anything like that in our products, and to ensure the safety. And those limits are exceptionally low, and they're below a level that would cause a concern from a health perspective. Like anything, you can't set a limit to absolute zero. Nobody can, because these things are in the environment. We don't live in a world that's sterile, but any products that we produce are safe, and we can completely stand over them, and we have really strict criteria for, like I said, for our raw materials as regards limits for any heavy metals and any other potential contaminants that could be in the environment that sometimes pops up in the media. Actually, we have really strict limits, and we need proof of that for our products. And many of our products are tested locally in markets for metals as well, so we have that data too.
And there was a point about sulfates.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So sorry, I was forgetting about that one. Yeah, so sulfates. So I think sulfates get a bit of negative attention. We do use them in some products. They're used for kind of cleansing and removing dirt, and they can be quite good at that. I don't believe we use SLS as one of the sulfates. I don't believe we use that anymore. We use kind of a different one. They can be a little bit irritating, but in general, when they're used correctly, they can be used quite safely, and we're happy with the safety of them in the particular product types that we use them. The safety team would look at this, and make sure that we are happy with the safety. And when we're not, we would either reduce the level that we're using at if we think there's a concern there, or we restrict or completely ban it, completely if we believe there's enough of a concern. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to jump on that you said about the safety team, because the next question, there are two questions also that I think we can combine in one. So it goes, how long does it take in general to do all the safety tests in a product in a way for it to be considered safe? And then the next part to it is, can our community have access to what kind of safety tests that Oriflame uses so that they can share it to their potential customers?
So the first part, in terms of the timings of the how long it takes to do tests, it would depend on what the product is and what type of test we're doing. It could be, and we mightn't do just one test, it could be several, and we might do an in vitro test, which is like essentially it's in a glass, for want of a better description, and that could be very short, it'd be a few days it would take to do that test, or it could be testing in, when it's in adult volunteers, and they're the ones that would be under the supervision of a dermatologist or ophthalmologist. And they would normally be kind of a second stage of testing after we've done the in vitro. They can take a few weeks to do, because it generally involves people using the product for a few weeks and then them being assessed by the dermatologist or gynecologist. But probably up to 4 weeks would be the duration. As to can the test reports be shared, I don't believe that we don't generally share them, but we have, I don't believe we share them, and I don't know if, in theory, we use that information to help us talk about the safety. It helps us substantiate it, when we're saying suitable for sensitive skin, that comes from some of our testing. And that information is there for any regulators who wanted to come and audit us. Those test reports have to be there. That's part of the EU regulation. That forms part of what we call our cosmetic product safety report. It forms part of that. It's a big document that we need to prepare to show the safety of every product. And so that test information has to be present in there. But I don't think it's something that we would share externally, really. Yeah.
And I think this is the last question, and it has something to do with one of the do's and don'ts that you shared earlier. It's regarding training courses with training with color cosmetics. So what should the community do, the brand partners do with mascaras or eye pencils or lip pencils when they are in a training session where multiple people are trying to use the product? Should they use any disinfectant, or how should they clean these products?
This question is very good. And I don't know if we have the contact of the person that is addressing this question. If it's possible, I would like to first talk to the team that is responsible for the trainings, just because I don't want to give here an instruction. I know in general, like I will recommend cleaning, not sharing. I don't know, but I want to make sure we are giving recommendations that are possible to be executed with the material they have for the training.
Yes, that is very reasonable. So I've taken the contact detail of the person who asked this, and then maybe we can have a follow-up and like share to all the markets like your answer to this question. But yeah, it was really super amazing Oriflame sessions, Oriflame talk session that we've had today. And if there's really one thing that I've taken away from this session is that we at Oriflame really take safety seriously. And that, as you were explaining, like in today's session, a lot of steps are done to ensure our beauty community and our consumers can safely and responsibly experience and really enjoy the Oriflame products that we have. And it really makes me proud to be part of Oriflame, and I hope everybody feels the same way. We do love feedback also. So to the audience, please don't forget to answer the survey in the link posted in the chat. This will help ensure that we continue to deliver future Oriflame talks that you will enjoy. And last but not the least, we will have this session up in YouTube. So if anyone in your network was not able to join today, or if you want to rewatch and really take all the information again that has been shared, it's so rich. This session was so rich with information that even me, I have a lot of learning to take away for today. You can watch it in YouTube. And a very, very, very big thank you to Anya and Gabriela. Thank you everyone for joining today, and we will see you all in the next Oriflame Talks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.